Welcome to the Will and Dave Show, where we talk about hard things, whether it's comfortable or not. We think those conversations are necessary and important. We think that having different opinions is crucial to a healthy discourse. So saddle up, enjoy the fireside chat.
William, welcome to 2022, my friend.
How? I like the new intro a lot. It makes me happy. It warms the cockles of my heart, really.
So, what are the conkles of your heart?
Cockles, and I have no idea
What are
actually.
the
It's something I
cockles of
got
your heart?
from. I don't know. It's something I got from Charles Dickens.
Charles
Like
Dickens.
yeah,
We might have to look that up. The
no, it's
cockles of your
it's
heart.
the Christmas story from Charles. What's it called? Why can't I think of it? Scrooge.
Yeah, Christmas
Isn't that
Carol.
Charles Dickens? Christmas Carol. Yeah,
Yeah, the cockles of my heart.
yeah. It's a term used by Tiny Tim, I think.
No idea. Give me one moment.
Uh,
I'm just going to throw our link into a group on Facebook while we're
oh,
live.
perfect. So while you're doing that, I'm going to
Yeah,
talk about how excited I am about how new everything looks because everything looks so nice.
there you go.
I mean, we're fiddling with the tweaks and changes like lighting and jazz, but new set, courtesy of my wonderful significant other. And I mean, your set's the same, but our layout is different. We have our different little logo in the bottom now. We don't have
Hey,
to
I
have like a
changed the
full
book.
overlay all the time.
I added
Did you
another
change the
book.
book?
I did.
Oh, okay. You have hair. Like, wow, this is a year of change.
It is a year of change. Just inviting
It's
some friends on another page.
ooh. I mean, my ponytail's getting longer. Life's looking up.
No, it'd help if I could spell.
Probably.
So
So
I think
I'm
for
go ahead. Go ahead.
just for fun, I think we should play the opener again because I like hearing it.
I think I can do better. I just
Yeah,
need to plan ahead. I need to because if I like I've got it down to a science. If I dehydrate myself a little bit, like don't drink enough water the night before,
yeah,
and I record it as soon as I wake up,
it sounds
I,
even
I
better.
can I can do so much better. It takes me thinking a day in advance to do it.
Well, let's do her one more time just because we can. We have the power.
Beautiful.
Welcome to the Will and Dave Show, where we talk about hard things, whether it's comfortable or not. We think those conversations are necessary and important. We think that having different opinions is crucial to a healthy discourse. So saddle up, enjoy the fireside chat.
So I had a great idea for that opener.
Hmm.
Instead of having our faces on the screen, it just have the back of our heads and two chairs in front of a fireplace.
There you go.
I can green screen that really easily.
Hmm.
It'll look cheesy, but hey, it'll be our heads
I
posted
was
on.
wondering. We talk about fireside chat, but there's no fire going on, so I have to kind of wonder. But so for those of you who don't know, we're talking about all this new stuff. I mean, if you're a new listener, welcome. If you're an
Yes.
older listener, you may notice some slight changes both in how we're doing the show live and in our topics right now. So in the previous year, especially the last latter half, I'd say, of the previous year, the current health crisis was at the forefront of most of our conversations. And to put it bluntly, we're sick and tired of it. Like,
Yes.
there's no escaping hearing about it and hearing about the changes on a daily basis. And so we get to do this show. We get to choose what's on it. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to spend some time away from it. And
Well,
so
I
we
don't know
spent
that
kind
we're
of the
not
whole,
going to. It just is not going to be the focus of the episodes.
yeah,
Like it
especially
may come
like
up
we're
in
taking
conversation, but yeah.
oh, absolutely. But like the first month of the show, we're actively going to steer clear of it
Yes.
as much as we can this year. Like they say, we will probably talk about it. We talk about topical things,
Huh.
topical topics in the tropics. But
That is a lazy, lazy sentence.
thank you. Anywho, we're going to talk about it inevitably, but for now we're going to avoid it. And so what we've got going for the first couple of episodes this year, in this new, wonderful, fantastic year, we're going to look at some other shows that have been done in the past that kind of share some of the same intellectual space that we wish we could share. You know, people talking about topics from both sides, or multiple people talking about topics from both sides, and kind of comparing and contrasting, and hopefully finding some shared and common ground while doing that.
Right.
Now, we have chosen most of our chosen things to talk about are pre-current health crisis, and so it shouldn't even come up in the conversation because, again, we're taking a breather from that. And so, yeah, tonight.
It isn't a breather, Will. I think that we're on life support, and right now we're on the paddles.
I was going to call it a palate cleanser, but that sounds more appropriate.
Yeah, I'm just sick to death of it, and I
yeah.
It isn't going away, we just don't need to talk about it. So.
Yeah, we don't have anything new to give. We've given our perspective multiple times, and basically at this point, it's like you say, it's on life support. We're just hearing the new news and reacting to it. And that's not a really great basis for the show.
No, it's not.
I don't think that's a good foundation. So we're going to branch out. We're going to try some new stuff this year. We're going to do some weird things. We're going to do some less weird things. We have new layouts, so we look more professional. Keep an eye on that. We got more plans coming for that too.
If you like the show, hit the like, subscribe, and share this show if you would.
Oh yeah, we're also going to shill more this year.
Oh yeah, lots of
way
shilling.
More. Yeah. We're gonna whore ourselves out to the algorithm as much as humanly possible. If I keep using language like that, it's not gonna work. But yeah, so for tonight we have there's a really cool channel on YouTube called Big Think. And they have lots of interesting stuff on there that's kind of all over the political spectrum. But I found one video in particular over the holidays that really stuck out to me. And so we're going to play some of it. We're going to let you guys see some of the clips from that video, and then we're going to talk about them.
Right.
We want to make sure that we're not just reacting to the video. It'd be easy to just watch the whole video in its entirety and react to it. But we want to discuss it. We want this to be transformative, to use copyright law speak.
So I have in my little hands my notes, because as we listen, I am writing notes. Because
dang, you know what? I can do that too.
Mr. Van Jones, who we are listening or watching this evening, is a liberal. And while
oh boy,
he says some things that are very good, I know there's going to be some things I'm going to want to ask questions about. So,
what, you asking questions and playing devil's advocate? Who knew?
I have my notepad and my pen.
Well, I also have a notepad and pen. So there.
So before we do that, though, we should look at Buy Me a Coffee. For those of you who love the show, we love doing it. It's not free, and while we do have a sponsor who pays for the software for the show in the name of Stitched by Susan, who is an amazing show sponsor, we'd love it if you would run over and buy us a coffee. You can go to, if you want to lay out the website, Will, for them to go to.
It is buymeacoffee.com/Will and Dave Show. There's no the in that one because they wouldn't let us have the full length, like the full title in there. But yeah, for the price of a cup of coffee, you can help support us as we try to grow this show.
Yeah.
So a little bit of background for the clip that we're pulling up here. The clip is a video of a gentleman named Van Jones. I'm going to quickly read the first line of his Wikipedia bio if you want to know more. That's a great place to go to start. But Anthony Capel, or Van Jones, born September 20th, 1968, is an American news and political commentator, author, and lawyer. He is the co-founder of several nonprofit organizations, a 3-time New York Times bestselling author, a CNN host and contributor, and an Emmy Award winner.
And I have a link
to
all of that in the show comments.
Hey, my man. So let's roll the first clip.
I think liberals have a very hard time understanding their role in creating the market for Trump. I think we have a view of ourselves that has a bunch of blind spots in it in terms of how we're showing up. I've gone all across the country. I've got a chance to go to West Virginia, the red parts of Indiana, Michigan, even the red counties in California. I've gone to the border. And it gives you the chance to really kind of see the world, from the other side as a liberal, as a progressive. One of the things I think that we don't understand, and we have a hard time getting our heads wrapped around, is we often commit the same mistakes with people in the red states that we accuse conservatives of committing. For instance, if you only listen to NPR, only watch CNN, and only read the New York Times, and say, I know what's happening, then you're committing the same kind of mistake as somebody who only reads, the Wall Street Journal, watches Fox News, and listens to Rush Limbaugh on the radio.
Or we can add to that AON or
The
Blaze.
Yeah, add social media to that. Absolutely. Who you follow on Twitter and Facebook.
Matt Walsh
is
your hero.
Yeah. Yeah. This isn't a new concept to our show. This is something we talk about regularly, is diversifying your media consumption and avoiding an echo chamber, especially in regards to social media.
Yes. I know early
that's
on
something that
we talked about you really need to avoid an echo chamber, as it is it's self-inducing ideas. If you hear them every day and you already have them, it makes you think you're right, and you could be wrong.
Yeah, it just reinforces it.
Yeah. So
I think that was one of our first episodes that we talked about that.
Yeah, and I don't have much to argue with on that. I think that he is very right, especially in regards to the liberals in the election of Trump. There was a huge uprising of anger against the establishment, and he was the antithesis of the establishment. And whether he absorbed the establishment after he got in office or not is another whole conversation. Although at the time, there was this huge backlash against the liberal establishment, and I think he was right on the nail with that.
Yeah, anti-establishment sentiment is such a weird double-edged sword, because as someone on the progressive side, somehow we still hate the establishment, despite the fact that effectively I say we, I'm Canadian, but effectively we as progressives elected the current president of the United States. And yet somehow, obviously not all of us are happy about who is elected. It just wasn't the opponent. But there's a certain level of anti-establishment that runs deeply, I think, deeply in both sides of the political spectrum. And it doesn't really matter who the establishment is. And it seems to revolve more around, as long as it's not the other establishment, if that makes sense.
It does. I think you're living it in Canada as well. You realize when you have a leader who is
nobody likes him. The most progressive people I know do not like our current leader, but at least he's not anyone else.
Yeah, that's
the best thing they can say about him
anymore.
Yeah,
at least he's
terrible.
Not the other guy. So.
Yeah, well, in Canada specifically, the other side, the other half of the political spectrum, just needs to produce a reasonably decent candidate, and they'll probably do great. They just can't seem to do it. Everyone that they pick as leaders is just trash right now. They can't seem, they're either awful people or they're just not very good at what they're doing, or what they're supposed to do. The current Conservative Party leader here in Canada is just having a rough time of it.
Yes, I would agree with that.
He can't make either side happy right now. You could look at that and say maybe he's trying to be the fairest of all of them. I don't know, but he's certainly not presenting himself as a particularly good alternative.
I don't think a politician needs to be fair. He needs to have his values. He needs, how to word it, he's a leader of the whole nation, and not half. I don't think you have to be fair. You have to be, I don't know what the word is.
I feel
you have to be clear.
Yeah.
And even-handed,
that,
maybe.
Yeah, that always makes me wonder about a politician's place. Is their place to, like as I said earlier, to be fair and just, or is their place to be representative of the people that they claim to speak for or to represent? Which is more important? Which is their directive? Is a conservative party leader's directive to do the best thing that he thinks for the country and for leading it, or is his directive to do what his party wants him to do because he is elected by his constituents?
I
don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer. It's more
right,
like it's more of a conundrum that I'm just flinging into the void.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to clip 2, because I think we might have more to argue with in clip 2.
What? No.
Do you know the white people who consistently vote against their own economic self-interest? I'll tell you who. Rich white liberals who vote for tax increases to pay for programs their kids will never use. They're voting against their economic self-interest. We don't think that makes them ignorant, stupid, dupes. We think that makes them awesome. That's the best thing about rich white liberals, is that they put their values over their money. Their values are more important than their money. They don't just care about money, they care about their values. Interesting. Huh. So if you put your values over your money, you are a noble person. You're not an idiot. You're a noble person. Well, that low-income white guy who's been voting for Republicans the whole time will tell you, well, guess what? I'm putting my values over the money. And I'm telling you, I don't want America's government to go and rob some rich family and take their money and bring it over to my house and try to bribe me. See, I don't want America's government to rob a rich family and use the money to try to bribe me to be dependent on them or anybody else. I don't want America's government to take that money and undermine my parenting choices. If my kids are so stupid, they drop out of school, get on drugs, and have a bunch of babies, I don't want the government to bail them out. Let them learn a tough lesson, that that's a dumb way to live your life. I'm putting my values of independence, see, and common sense over whatever money the government might be able to give me. Even if it hurts me economically, my values are more important.
He brought it around. I have to admit, I didn't hear the whole thing earlier when I was cutting it. I grabbed your timelines and I cut it out.
He brings it around really well.
But why the rich white liberals? I do have to wonder at that wording.
A stereotype.
Yes, but there are a lot of black rich liberals as well who vote against their.
I think he's using the most public of them. Like he's using like your Twitter CEOs, and people like that as his kind of. I'm assuming that he's in his brain. He's referencing people like that, and he's referencing
of who he is. Obviously, it makes sense for him to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting one I thought is the values over money.
Mm-hmm.
The whole concept of values over money, I find very interesting. As usually you do that when you donate into a cause.
Mm-hmm.
If it's your money or your time, and you donate either to nonprofits, or in your organization, or into church, or wherever you give, that is your values over money. As you're giving money away for really nothing.
Yeah.
And that is a real world example of that whole idea of the values over money. Mm-hmm. It's interesting how he brings it home, and he says, you also are doing that when you vote. And that was a new idea for me.
Yeah.
I liked it, actually. After I heard the second half of the clip, I didn't have to write my notes anymore.
Like, I I think my realization when listening to it was related to that, but like, so I'm cognizant of the fact that a lot of the people that I support politically and or vote for are going to cost me money. Like taxes are probably going to go up. You know, spending for social services and things like that is going to cause my taxes to go up. Or support during the current crisis is going to cause inevitable hurt down the line for me. And not all the way, but in certain cases at least, I'm okay with that. Like I'm like, okay, I'm choosing what I think is the social value over the cost to me. But I never really also reflected on the fact that someone else voting differently from me is doing the same thing, just the opposite side of the same coin. They're still choosing choosing a value over monetary gain to a degree.
Is I would rather you made more money and I made more money.
Right.
And I don't want, if I make more money, I don't want to give it to you because over here is a third guy or over here is a third party who says, Dave, you made more money. We're going to give it to Will.
Yeah.
I find that offensive. And that is what he said in the second half of the quote, which I didn't hear when I was doing the editing and I was getting my notes all ready to write and to rip holes. And I didn't have to, as he did share both sides.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking about Mr. Jones. He's you and me in one body.
Something like
that, yeah. He's playing
yeah.
both sides of the argument. And I think it's actually interesting. I'd never really heard him before. And yesterday I was listening to an interview on the Megyn Kelly show. And I forget who she was interviewing. And the interviewee was a right-wing author or something or other. And he said, I really appreciate Van Jones. And I thought, it's going to be interesting, as I never heard any of what he had to say. And now,
this clip makes me want to learn more about him because he's on one of the more left-leaning. He works for or has worked for one of the more left-leaning organizations. He worked under President Barack Obama as a special counsel of some sort. Like his affiliations are definitely progressive, but he is very cognizant.
Trump.
He did, yes, he did.
He worked with Trump.
So he is very cognizant of both sides of this debate, and I feel like he's someone that is worth looking into more. Like originally, my plan with doing these whole segments that we're going to be doing the next couple of weeks was for it to be a learning experience and kind of an exemplar of what we want to put out into the world via reflecting these other people who have already done it. And I'm learning more that there's people that are doing it better than I ever thought we could. And now there's people out there that I can look to actually learn from. It's not just me being like, look what we want to do. Now it's looking at me saying to myself, look what I want to do.
Right.
I can only hope to be as well informed as Mr. Van Jones is being in this clip. I don't know about the rest of his work yet. That's something I still want to look into more. And I hope that I'm putting more. I hope that by broadcasting this, we're going to put some other people onto him.
Well, let's move on to clip number 3.
Let's do it.
I think the fundamental thing that I would say to conservatives is that it appears that what we used to call conservatism has been replaced by something else. And a very sneaky set of maneuvers has given us not true conservatism, but just anti-liberalism. And that is a fundamental problem. A conservative would defend America from all enemies, foreign and domestic, including any allegation that a foreign power tried to mess with our democracy. We would expect our conservative friends to be at the forefront of defending American democracy, but that is no longer kosher because it would put you in bed with the liberals who are screaming about Russian interference. And so I'm not gonna defend the country because I gotta stay anti-liberal, I gotta be against the liberals. There are so many conservative opportunities to make real progress in unlikely communities, but for some reason they don't do it. Who is more passionate about marriage and adoption than Republicans who are pro-family and anti-abortion, and lesbian and gay couples who want to get married and adopt kids. So the two biggest champions of marriage and adoption don't work together because Republicans don't see their ally. They literally don't see that the LGBT community is actually the one community in America whose marriage rates are going up as opposed to all the rest of us, and who understand the need for adoption and fighting for it.
So I listened after that one for a little while longer. Again, I wanted to add a little bit more, as there was more in that conversation.
Okay.
But early on, he mentions anti-liberalism. And it is very, very real. And we have talked about it. A lot of people have over coffee. I mean, I hear it all the time. You know, everybody is all divided and nobody can see eye to eye on anything. Why is it? He hits the nail on the head.
And I want to mention, I do think it goes both ways. It is not exclusively an issue with conservatives being anti-liberal by proxy.
Absolutely.
It absolutely goes both ways.
Yes. This whole idea of, you may agree with me on one thing, except I won't acknowledge it as I disagree with you about something else. Like, how foolish is that? If all of our relationships all ran that way, we'd all be basket cases.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe we are basket cases. I don't know.
But I mean, just look at the current crisis.
Yes.
The current, because of how I feel about it and how many of my friends and family feel about it, if I discounted all the other things that we share and have in common and get along on because of that one thing, I would be out so many close friends, so many wonderful, amazing, beautiful people in my life, all because of one thing. And I won't do it. I won't let that happen.
Right.
Because
the whole point of this show,
that is lunacy.
The whole point of this show, I'm going to stick it up here again as I want it, is that it's okay to disagree with somebody on things.
Yeah.
We actually want you to disagree with some things, as we aren't all the same. And I think that the whole point of this show, obviously of Van Jones' show, and of a number of shows around the world, are it's okay to be different and to not agree about some things. It just is, you have to look for common ground, and it's hard sometimes.
Yeah. The common ground doesn't float to the top, especially when we're talking mainstream media and social media. The common ground is not the stuff that floats to the top.
If
you have to stir the pot, you have to go looking for it.
Yeah. If you really want to do it well, it will be hard. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to work for it, and you're going to have to work for relationships, and you're going to have to work for unity.
Yeah. Like, and using myself as an example, there are times when I have to bite my tongue and not say the things that I wish I could say to people, because it's not going to win anything. And I am sure that I say things that my friends just bite their tongues on. And you're like, you know what? We're just not going to go there, because we don't, that's a can of worms we don't want to deal with.
Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I don't bite my tongue off.
Well, at least you seem to be able to talk your way out of it at the end, then, at least.
Oh man.
But yeah, it's not easy. Finding the common ground is the high road, so to speak.
And even in the current health crisis, I don't know how you phrase that. I'm sure that's still going to get a shadow ban, but
we'll see.
There is common ground. There is. All of us have had friends who have had it. All of us have had relatives who have had it. It's not hard to see the common ground. It's just hard to use that as a bridge. And that is, I think, for most of us, what we need to do is look for the common ground, Use it as a relationship bridge. Ooh, I just made up a word. Relationship bridge.
Works for me. I like it.
Phrase. And then
Would you say it's like a bridge over particularly troubled water? I couldn't help myself. When friends just can't be found. So we might be slightly biased, but we gotta fix that. Yep. There we go. Standing for things instead of tearing down other things. Great. Excuse me. If I could tweak that statement, instead of just standing with people for things, because there are lots of people who are standing for lots of things that are not particularly bridge-like, but it's standing for those things that we have together, like as Van Jones said, adoption. That is such a great example of common ground that heterosexual couples and homosexual couples could meet on, is the need for adoption, or that pro-lifers and homosexual couples could meet on, is that adoption is necessary and important and it's so worth doing.
It's interesting he uses that example, as that is, and I didn't want to get into it much as I'm not qualified. It's interesting to use the gay and the hetero relationships and the pro-life.
Mm-hmm. They're so opposite from each other, because there is almost no overlap between them as a general rule, politically speaking. There's very little.
Well, I may be putting my how to word this, not get myself in trouble. One of the arguments on the conservative side of that is that in the LGBTQ community, you are not able to procreate. It's not physically possible. And it's there for a reason, especially on the religious side. And that's why they're against it. It's not that they can't adopt, but they're not able to procreate. So it's sort of espousing a thing that's not physically right. And that is the argument.
Guess.
And I don't want to say, it just was interesting. He used that as there is a there's a philosophical real difference there that is not only right to adopt.
I mean, yes, there is. You're right. I don't want to say that what you're saying is wrong.
About as wide a bridge as he could get to use as an example.
So I'm going to try to bring them a little bit closer together. I think that involves you latching the idea of marriage and companionship in a long-term relationship to procreating as if they have to be or they should be together. Whereas I don't think that me personally don't think that the purpose for a relationship should be procreation. I think that's a terrible foundation to exist on as a lifelong pair.
Right.
I think that's that is a very, like, for any couple, maybe the wicked sex, or maybe the emotional stability. While there are these various pillars that can hold a relationship up, that can certainly be one of them. Being a parent, procreating can certainly be one of them. But I don't think that it is not mutually exclusive, but mutually inclusive.
Right. And I don't want to say that it's
to it.
There is common ground there, and I see that.
Yeah.
And I like his point is you need to look for that common ground. And honestly, I think that this is one of those hard ones. You have to look for common ground. It's not going to be easy. You have to look for that common ground. But
there is. So I swear this is related. A little bit of a tangent, but I swear it's related. So I've been watching the new season of Queer Eye came out.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know what Queer Eye is, it's more than a makeover show, as they call it, I guess. But it's a group of 5 gay gentlemen, and they go and they find people and they give them like a full lifestyle makeover. It's not just clothes and looks. They also, redo their house and, have them go through counseling and talk about all these things. And generally speaking, and especially in the newest season, like one of the flagship episodes of the new season was they went and they found this deep, because it's based in Austin, Texas. They went and found this Texan cattle rancher who was an Army Ranger and the most Republican dude you could find. And a whole bunch of people were mad online. They were like, why are we watching these people give this Republican Trump supporter schmuck all this stuff and help his life out and all this stuff? And I'm like, no, it's the opposite. Because this dude in his cowboy boots and hat with his wonderful Texas drawl went and hung out. Like, how often do you think in his lifetime he went and spent a week hanging out with 5 gay guys, getting his nails done, his hair done, his house renovated, and talking to them and hanging out with them and finding common ground? Like when he was working with the guy on clothes, they found common ground in how he can dress more respectable but still feel comfortable and things like this. Like that was probably the most wonderful bonding, and not like bonding between each person individually, but bonding as different thinking individuals from totally different worlds. It was amazing. And I'm like, why are we mad that they're doing that? Why are we crapping on the fact that they did it? Just because we don't like that he's a Republican, why are we upset that they're actively making connections, finding common ground, and bridging that gap, ideologically speaking?
But are we worried really that he is just a Republican or that he doesn't agree with us? And that is where I think
exactly
the root of this comes from. It's okay that he's a Republican. It's not okay that he doesn't agree with us.
Yeah, and that's so frustrating.
Yeah,
because like there was this wonderful conversation where he's getting his hair done, and the gentleman who's doing his hair is, I say gentleman, he's non-binary, so his pronouns are he, him, they. He doesn't espouse himself to either identity. And so the guy in the chair with his hat off and getting his hair done, with this guy was asking him, he's like, so how am I supposed to, because I say, morning, ma'am, and all this stuff, like, how do I talk to you? And he's like, oh, you just ask. He's like, I can ask what you prefer. He's like, yes, please, just ask. That's all we want. He's like, oh, I thought it was impolite to ask. And just that little moment, that little tiny conversation was just such a wonderful, eye-opening experience for both of them. For the gentleman who is non-binary being like, oh, it's just habit for him to tip his hat and, morning, ma'am, or sir. That's how he was raised. It has no extra weight behind it. It's just how he does it. And he genuinely just wanted to be as polite as possible to the people that he saw every day.
Right.
And it was a little microcosm of exactly what we're talking about, and I loved it so much.
Well, Mr. Van Jones, you have given us things to think about.
Yes, you have.
So here's where we're going to wrap up our regularly scheduled programming. So we did a whole bunch of clips last week with the intros of the show in all these different voices.
Mm-hmm.
And it was lots of fun. But for the intro for the show, we really want it to be a little bit nicer.
Mm-hmm.
So I messaged you this afternoon and I said, hey, Will, why don't we do the outro of the show in the funny voices?
Oh, boy.
Are you game?
Yeah, I am game. Although before we
cut
do
it off
this,
the podcast if you want, but
yeah. Well, no. Well, we can have it in the podcast. I think that's great fun. Although I do want to, I don't want to dissect it afterwards. So we'll do the outro, and it's like that the show's over. So before we do that, then
okay,
I'm going to say my little last bit of, if you, the audience, have any ideas for silly voices or ideas for intros, outros, etc., please let us know. We love your input. I only can think of a small number of silly things that I would love to do for intros and outros. If you think to yourself, hey, there's this cool idea or this funny voice, or mimic this character, or butcher mimicking this character, let us know. I'd love to try.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there because I was so sure that you were going to say, if anybody has any ideas for new voices, screw it. Don't hesitate to get lost. Go jump off a pier somewhere. I'm not doing it. I was waiting for you to give some smart aleck remark.
No.
But no, you just went on. As we did miss one last week, the Russian general. The Russian colonel. We forgot that one.
Yeah. I'm very bashful about doing the voices, but I do enjoy doing it. It's just I don't in my own head, I'm not thinking, what silly voice can I do? How can I do it? How can I do it best? I'm just avoiding bringing it up. But it is something that I enjoy. It is something that I get a kick out of.
So before we do the voices,
Yeah.
what do we want our ending to be? It should be a little bit longer than just the "Stay safe, don't die."
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I was just thinking that too. I was gonna thank you for joining us on the Will and Dave show. Stay safe and don't die. Something along those lines. It doesn't be too long. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Will and Dave show. Stay safe and don't die. Don't forget, stay safe and don't die. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Will and Dave show. Have a good night. Stay safe and don't die.
So I like that. I think it should be a little bit more. Maybe add our website in there or something.
Okay. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you would like to see
anywhere
more,
I
should chill
at the Will and Dave show. Everything is at the Will and Dave show at everything, Instagram, etc., etc. You can say.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. If you enjoyed tonight's show, you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and anywhere fine podcasts are found as the Will and Dave show. Thank you for joining us tonight. Stay safe and don't die. How's that sound?
Yes, or any social media or website. It is exactly at the Will and Dave show, so they can find it. Doesn't need to be YouTube or Facebook.
Right.
It's at anything. Now, we're only active on YouTube and Facebook and the website, but
currently we're working on that.
Yes.
Wading through the mire that is Twitter.
Which one do you want to do first?
I was going to do Russian tonight. We'll just call it. Are we going to record a whole bunch of them, or are we going to do one live tonight? Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I don't mind. Yeah, we can do that. Of course, our viewers jump right here for the silly part. You missed out on all the good juicy bits. You can rewind later and watch, or just listen to the podcast when it comes out.
That's right. This is the fun stuff.
This is the fun stuff. Okay, so we want to start with the Russian? Okay, give me a sec here. Just give me a second. I dropped my pen like an absolute professional. Yeehaw. I'm going to quickly write this down so I can get it the same every time, so it's not a little bit different. So it was, thank you for joining us.
You should individualize each one.
I'll probably do like a
little
colonel
bit. Is freezing up in Siberia. You can find this show in the comfort of your living room, or
it's something. Forking freezing here. Forget Siberia.
Yeah.
You can find us on social media at
the only one I couldn't
Dave show
use that at was on our Buy Me a Coffee. Was the only place I couldn't get the Will and Dave show, of all things.
Schmucks. You can find. Thanks for watching. No, we already said thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Will and Dave show and anywhere fine podcasts are found.
Stay safe and don't die.
Yeah.
On the Russian, if I don't catch you first and put you in the gulag, stay safe, don't die.
Stay safe, don't die if you can. Okay, so you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for joining us on Will and Dave Show. You can find us on social medias at Will and Dave Show or anywhere fine podcasts are found. Don't forget, stay safe and don't die if you can. That wasn't Russian general. That was more just like General Rusky.
Yeah, the only problem with that one was you forgot to say the Will and Dave Show. You said Will and Dave Show.
Okay. Let's do this again. We're doing it live. Okay, ready? See if I can do more of a general voice. Thank you for joining. Oh, I should give you a pause so you can cut it there. Okay. Ready? Thank you for joining us on the Will and Dave Show. You can find us on social medias at the Will and Dave Show and anywhere fine podcasts are found. Remember, stay safe and don't die if you can.
I will make it work. There wasn't much of a "the" in there, but we'll make it work.
It's hard because you don't really say
it's
the.
But
the accent is the. The Will and Dave Show.
Okay, that one's done. We should do Mrs. Doubtfire. Because that was one of our favorites.
Mrs. Doubtfire. Thank you. Okay, you ready? Yeah. cursor heads up. Thank you for joining us on the Will and Dave Show. You can find us on social media.
You should do with the hello into it, and then the.
Oh, okay,
yes.
okay. Shouldn't it be goodbye? But whatever.
Either one works. I don't care what you do.
Hello. Thank you for joining. Oh, I screwed up. No, I got the wrong voice. Here we go again. Hello. Thank you for joining us on the Will and Dave Show. You can find us on social media at the Will and Dave Show and anywhere fine podcasts are found. Stay safe, dearie, and don't die.
That was awesome.
There we go. There we
go.
I'm a consummate professional.
I may remove the hello if it doesn't work.
That's fine.
But it's good.
I'm bellowing it into the back of the room, so I don't know how it's going to sound, but I don't want to like deafen people with my mic.
French.
Thank you for joining us on the Will and Dave Show. You can find us on social media at The Will and Dave Show and anywhere fine podcasts are found. Don't forget, stay safe and don't die. Good night.
Beautiful.
I can't hear you, but
you can
beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, we have Beatles or 70s.
I don't like that one. We're gonna skip that one because I was not happy with the way.
Everybody.
Yeah, I was not happy with how that voice. Really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go.
Okay.
The old college try.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us on the Will and Dave Show. You can find us on social media at the Will and Dave Show and anywhere fine podcasts are found. Stay safe and don't die, baby.
I just think that's awesome. Done.
You know what? Whatever floats your boat, Chief.
It's just going to be in a rotation on the ending. So
True.
The other one we did was the Canadian Redneck.
Yeah, we had Canadian Redneck. We also had a kind of a posh British one.
Yes.
The Terry's Chocolate Orange.
Right. Yes.
I think I gotta get my Letterkenny on now. Thank you for joining us on the Will and Dave Show. You can find us on social media at the Will and Dave Show and anywhere fine podcasts are found, eh? So don't forget, bud, stay safe and don't die.
That was so perfect. Thanks, bud.
It is my natural accent, so just on roids.
Chocolate Orange.
Thank you for joining us on the Will and Dave Show. You can find us on social media at the Will and Dave Show and anywhere fine podcasts are found. Don't forget, stay safe and don't die. Have a good night.
Awesome.
Did we want a Sam Elliott? If I can manage a Sam Elliott?
Yeah. Let's do that one again. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the Will and Dave Show. You can find us on social media at the Will and Dave Show and anywhere fine podcasts can be found. Stay safe out there, partner. Don't die.
Beautiful.
Gotta throw in that partner.
I know. The other one we did, which I don't want to do here, is the radio voices. I'm going to keep that one for the intro.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to do like general Scottish?
Yes.
Instead of just Outfire?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, you ready? Thank you for joining us on the Will and Dave Show. You can find us on social media at the Will and Dave Show and anywhere fine podcasts can be found. Don't forget, stay safe and don't die out there.
Beautiful. That's 8.
That's 8. That's good.
That should keep us through 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, I think we've gone a little while.
And for those of you who are listening to this on the podcast, on the replay, if you have any ideas, feel free to send us a note at info@thewillanddaveshow.com, and we will be glad to add it to the show. So, without further ado, Will, have you got anything to say to our fine fellows in Cyberland?
I do. And fellowettes.
Fellowettes.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Stay safe and don't die. Have a good night.